As I work on my Grandmaster's climb, I get many questions for tips and tricks on Rek'Sai top lane. So I'm going to show you all how I make topside work versus the top 0.1% of players. Let's talk about Rek'Sai's identity as a top laner. With Rek'Sai's passive healing, you are able to drain the enemy laner's resources like mana, Fiora, Illaoi tentacles, etc. Make sure you are prioritizing your passive usage during early portions of the laning phase. Once you get level 3, you have quite strong dueling potential and are able to contest your laner. Post lane phase, your split push is one of the best in the game due to your tunnels. Make a subway system of tunnels to help you get to safety, so even if someone tries to pressure you off of the side lane, you are simultaneously wasting a second person's time and giving free pressure to your whole team, which could equate to something for your whole team. This is the build I'd go. Keep in mind there is an additional tree I will recommend, but that is if you are looking for extended trades rather than short ones. The reason I think Grasp in the Undying is better is due to the secondaries being much better, and Grasp being a non-committal rune is very nice in tough matchups where you want to slow wear down your opponents, because topside is usually more suited for that because of your passive. Now, if you are fighting a ranged matchup, I would recommend the Conqueror build over the Grasp build, since you will naturally get more value from Conk because you will want to stick onto the enemy champion. Every game, your go-to build will be Titanic and Hullbreaker with Swifties. You can also go Steel Caps if the enemy is heavy AD. There are 2 ways you can take your build from 3 items onward. Tank. I would normally recommend going Jack Show. The reasoning is, since you stack a lot of HP with Titanic and Hullbreaker, building an item that gives you armor and MR will give you more effective HP rather than just stacking more HP. The other route is going more bruiser focus, which you have a few options. Number 1, you can go Black Cleaver if you want to stay bruiser oriented but want more damage, or if you have a lot of AD champions on your team, so you know the enemy will build more armor. Sterak's if you want AD tenacity, have some insurance versus a team that can burst you fast. But personally on this front, I would prefer to go Jack Show. I also recommend going Overlord's Bloodmail. Not only does it help scale with HP on a third item, it makes you a very large threat when you are low on HP. So if you want an item that is bruiser focused, but allows insane damage if you are able to get heals off, I would go that. You can also go Eclipse in the niche scenario versus HP stack champions, and you want damage over survivability. With the recent changes to having true damage on bite, Spirit Shojin has risen in usefulness even more. I like the item in jungle, but for top lane, I would reserve it for 3rd or 4th item if you want more damage or ability spam. A lot of times, this will be more useful than Black Cleaver in scenarios nowadays, since Black Cleaver only applies on physical damage and Shojin applies on any kind of ability or auto attack. So I would recommend this over Black Cleaver in majority of scenarios. You can also go Stridebreaker into matchups where you naturally get kited out. You will be more mobile and have a bit more utility for your team, but at the cost of losing damage from not having the Titanic combo and less HP. Titanic does slightly more damage on first buy, and another thing to consider is that you will scale slightly worse since you don't get the free on-hit scaling with Titanic off of HP. Stridebreaker is a great purchase, but should not be your go-to, should only be for more mobile matchups you're fighting against. I wouldn't straight up recommend this setup anymore that I used to go for quite some time, but there is also Sunfire / Spirit Visage into either Hollow Radiance / Thornmail, which both of these setups need Titanic to follow up for damage. The main time I would recommend going straight tank is if you are losing lane bad. If you are fighting Darius and he still kills you level 3, I would avoid going Bruiser because he will have an easy time just doing the same thing to you over again. Go tank and bide your time. Your passive is insanely strong, and sometimes you have to use it as a crutch during laning phase when you mess up. If you feel like you are even, however, I wouldn't really suggest these tank builds anymore. Not having as much agency as a bruiser build where you are our top laner feels really bad if your teammates feed your laner. Champions like Aatrox, Darius, Sett will ignore you and your pitiful tank damage and completely kill your teammates. So use tank as a last resort in my opinion. Your combos center around your empowered bite. So whenever you hit an enemy champion, you get 25 Fury per hit up to a maximum of 100, making your bite empowered. The fastest way to get to the empowered bite without Titanic is Burrowed Q, Knockup, auto attack, Q auto attack, giving you 100 Fury bite. This is your bread and butter combo. Now there is a way to implement flash into this combo to make it much more deadly. Land the Burrowed Q, then flash into Knockup, auto attack Q, E, and then R. This combo is undodgeable if they are hit with the Burrowed Q and have no instant invulnerability like a Stasis, a Fizzy, and a Fury W, etc. Make sure when you do this combo, you flash within 7 seconds of hitting Burrowed Q, because on the 8th second, your Fury will decay. A lot of times it will be able to get very unexpected kills under tower with this combo since you can flash, but it's so fast that the bite will actually follow the flash. Once you get Titanic, you have an even better version of the previous combos since now you don't even need to land barrel Q. All you have to do is knock up, auto attack, Q auto attack, Q Titanic auto attack, bite, and R, and is also undodgeable combo. Whenever Rek'Sai top lane was considered OP about a year ago, people referred to how strong her passive healing was. Freak and the design team toned it down so the healing went from 12.5 Fury per auto on minions to 5 per auto on minions. This effectively made everyone think that topside was dead, but the healing is still insanely good. I constantly have people tell me the champion is cringe for how much she can heal. The main reason it's still strong is due to knockup and bite still giving a max of 25 Fury versus minions, and added to the fact that champions still get full on everything, making it easy to heal off of your opponent and the wave if you can hit it. Make sure if you are worried about your HP bar to constantly cycle your knockup and your bite on the wave to get 50 Fury to heal eventually back to full, and take short trades versus the enemy. With Grasp stacked, this pairs well since you can walk up, barrel Q, knock up, auto attack, Q auto attack, and either walk away not taking damage unless they have a gap close or a CC spell that puts you into a committed fight, or you can bite. These constant short trades will wear down your opponent and you will be unpunished since you can heal off each instance. Depending on which side of the map you are on, you can walk to your Gromp, your Krugs, and heal off that as well. Usually, I do 2 instances of Fury stacking and then healing. Another point to add is knockup will give 25 Fury versus plants, but only 5 if it's a regular auto attack, so make sure to try and knock up versus them. Your level 1 is insanely weak compared to most top laners, so make sure you take W so you can defend yourself with knockup and try to stack up Fury to help you heal on the wave. A lot of times, you will have to concede the wave until it crashes and you are able to get level 3. It is completely normal to lose minions this way because most top laners will stat check you and punish you off of the wave. Once you are level 3, you actually become a champion and get a significant power spike that lets you duel. I highly recommend not tunneling in for trades versus melee champions, especially ones like Olaf, Sett, Darius, Jax, Riven, etc. that can run you down once you close the gap. Stick to short trades with Grasp and keep your HP bar as high as you can. Versus range matchups, it's important that you don't let them pressure you too hard off of the wave to keep your HP high and tunnel in when you get an opportunity. Here, you can see the wave crashed and started to bounce back to Vayne, allowing me to get level 3 before she had hers. So I was able to tunnel in for the kill since she did not have her E yet. This allowed me to snowball the lane to something very favorable for me and equated to a win. General rule of thumb is melee champions, you want to take Grasp, and short trades, save Tunnel for running away. Range matchups, I like to take Conquer and Ignite and commit to fights with Tunnel. I would prioritize going HP versus melee champions. Items like Giant Spell and Tunneler are good for spies, or versus range, I would go AD like Tiamat or Triple Longsword. During mid-game, your main power spike is towards Titanic Hydra, since that allows you to scale your HP into significant damage and have an undodgeable combo every single time you knock up compared to needing to hit Proud Q before every combo, which isn't as practical. Wave Clear also greatly benefits from this purchase, allowing you to instantly clear waves and roam around the map with tunnels. This will be your main game plan. Shove the wave, run around, get vision set up, tunnels behind you, continue to pressure or rotate to fights with your team and jungler. Your cooldown on tunnel will be low enough where you can be very liberal on its usage to make sure you have 1 to 2 tunnels minimum behind you when you are pressuring the sideline. If you are fighting against champions like Gragas, Cassante, Mordekaiser that can easily pull you out of tunnels, you need to respect ganks more than usual if you're doing something like a split push. There's not much to say in this section other than that Rek'Sai in general falls off late game compared to most champions, but I would make the case that it's not as bad as Rek'Sai jungle. Nevertheless, your main goal will be to either peel for your carry or look for flash picks with knockup. Generally, the safer option is to peel for your carry. Collect side lane waves and position with your team to help your main backline carry. I typically like to use Borrowed Q to make sure the enemy champion does not have bone plating before I fight. You can also use it to snipe recalls and see where the enemies go for another recall since it reveals enemy champions for 5 seconds. And most people don't know that you can stop the recall again with it. Majority of melee champions cannot auto-attack you whenever you click them with Unburrow. However, if they have an empowered auto-attack ability, it will take priority and go through anyways instead of being cancelled like normal. Your tunnel can be used to buffer stuns, which you can abuse in gank situations where you are in danger very frequently. Similar to Tristana Jump, but not as potent. Your passive is strong for laning, so make sure you prioritize tank stats on your first back to maximize survivability. I have a long history of struggle versus this matchup, as he is very good to counter your champion naturally with all of his micro knockups. The main way you play into him is going a hyper aggressive setup with Ignite and Conquer and all in him on repeat. If you play mechanically well and dodge 2 sweet spots, you can acquire HP advantage quite fast. He doesn't heal off the wave as well as you do, so also take advantage of that. Frankly, this matchup is quite rough for you. She has a lot of tools to deal with your champion well, like lots of micro dashes, decent range with Q1 and Q2. I would mostly recommend going tank into her, since she will be able to do a full cycle of her abilities before you can even touch her. She has no sustain, so being a tank and maximizing your heal usage is really important in this matchup, because there's not really much you can do until team fights. Another champion with an empowered auto attack. Don't try to knock up when she has Q ready, especially since her passive will shield against you, negating a lot of your damage. Speaking of her shield, you can try to force the shield to be magic if you spam a few broad Qs early game, which will deal magic damage and will force her first shield to be magic versus you. Her R can be quite damning for you, so be very mindful for ganks. This is another matchup where you just get stack checked, so don't tunnel forward. Play around his E and take short trades. Keep in mind, Darius' trade patterns are very predictable, so it's good to try and wiggle in and out of his Q and E range to bait one of those abilities, so his combo is not as lethal. I highly recommend going tank into this matchup if you are not comfortable on top lane Rek'Sai, because once he gets a small lead, it's hard to shut him down. This matchup becomes extremely in your favor once you get ahead of Fiora. Unlike most matchups, you get a giant swing of power once you get a small lead versus her. The reason is that you can bait out her parry since your knockup it's instant. Play mind games with your knockup. You don't always need to knock up Fiora immediately. Before you get your lead, however, she will expect you to knock up immediately. So when you are in range, she will parry to stop you, but instead, you pause and then knock up. She can space you out if she's good with her Q, but try to avoid that and get her in her face if that is possible. Another matchup where you need to be hyper aggressive, since he will eventually outskill you if he goes even and do what you do but better and with range. Gnar is very punishable if you go Stridebreaker and have Ignite. While fighting him in his mini form, he will try to hop on top of you or away, and you can cancel it forcing a kill or a flash in a lot of situations. Only fight in his R if it's very favorable for you, since he will stat check the hell out of you naturally. I would recommend rushing Mercs versus him to make his E much less threatening, since he will be able to spam it later into the game. He has bad mana issues early, so try to abuse sustain. You can knock up Gragas during his dash, but you will be stunned as well. So I like to use Tunnel to reposition myself when he ults, so I can avoid ganks and combos, but the timing is quite specific, so don't do it unless you're comfortable in Rek'Sai. This champion is similar to Fiora, that she is quite squishy but can outspace you with her dash, and it gives her significant auto attack range. Never go tank in this matchup. I always go hyper aggressive since she will shred you either way, so killing her first is key. I've learned the hard way that Bramblevest is close to useless in this matchup since the clone won't apply Grievous, so unless she is directly hitting you, she won't get it. Get Executioners instead. Her tentacles give you full fury per auto attack, so abuse that since she already has mana issues. You can make it very miserable for her mana wise. Her R is unstoppable, so try to avoid getting caught off guard by that as well. This is a very difficult matchup for you, so I would recommend dodging. But if you do not, I would automatically default to a tank build since he will take very little damage and your dueling potential is completely outshined by him. Play for mid game in this matchup. Go a hyper aggressive setup versus Nasus, you really need to punish his weak early game. If you don't contest him on his wave, he will outscale you very fast. You win majority of fights until he uses his R. Since his Q CD goes down so much, his DPS will be very high, which is very hard for your champion to deal with. Once again, this is a champion with mana issues, so it's really easy to abuse that. This matchup gets more difficult the higher elo you are. If she is good, she can actually space you out early game before you get boots with her W and her Q3. And there is not too much you can do unless she fumbles a combo. I highly recommend rushing steel caps versus her to significantly reduce her damage and make up for the mobility edge she has on you. A lot of times versus bad Riven players, it will Q3 on top of you and that will allow you to cancel it with the knockup. This matchup is mainly rough due to a bug with his pull where if he stuns you, you auto attack on the ground as if you are silenced. So play around avoiding stuns with his E. Don't tunnel towards him. Another good matchup for you. Save your tunnel for running away and do not let him pillar you mid-tunnel because you will die. I would prioritize Executioners versus him since he heals a lot off the wave with his passive and likes to rush Ravenous Hydra. If he Rs you, you lose no matter what. You can be 5-0 and if he starts the fight with ult, you will lose. This is normally a tough matchup for Topsai. However, there is one trick I like to do versus Volibear, which is bait his E and his Q simultaneously. If you walk up to Volibear and he tries to stun you with his Q, a lot of times he will try to buffer his E in with it too before he even hits you to make it undodgeable. You can use this to your advantage since you can tunnel away right as he stuns you or right before, wasting both of his key cooldowns and going back in for a trade since he will only have W left. Make sure to take second win versus Volley because of his lightning. Don't take button plating. I spent a lot of time playing top lane Rek'Sai. I made many videos on her. I have made many mistakes and many successes with this champion, and I have a lot of experience with her. I've spent a good amount of time on this video, but there probably won't be enough time for me to bestow all the information I have on her to you, but I hope this video is my best attempt of doing so far. I really do appreciate you guys' support on every video. If there are any other questions you guys have about Topsai, let me know. You guys have a wonderful day. Thanks. Queen Reksai.